वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। रूबरू में आप सभी का फिर से एक बार स्वागत है। और आज मैं बहुत ही ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड एंड फील कर रहा हूँ बिकॉज आज हमारे साथ जो जुड़ने जा रहे हैं द मोस्ट मोस्ट एमिनेंट पर्सनालिटी ऑफ इन द फील्ड ऑफ डांस, एंड नॉट ओनली फील्ड ऑफ डांस but also field of performing arts, if I say. Mr. Farooq Chaudhary, co-founder and executive producer of Akram Khan Dance Company, as well as Sky Blue Production. So we will go to live with him, and we will हमको एक एक्सपीरियंस आज मिलने वाला है. So it is I hope it will be a amazing conversation, and सर से बहुत कुछ सीखने को है. और मैं बहुत भाग्यशाली हूँ. आई एम सो ऑनर्ड टुडे that I get a chance to take his interview. It's not an interview, but also the interactive. I'm the part of this interactive session, so it is amazing. So, sir already joined with us. So, the request, and please, please accept. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Very good. Oh, very good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon to you.
Thank you so much. Sir, in Rubaru, you are coming to this platform, and I'm so honored today, and I'm so happy that it is a very precious time for me, and it's very special time for me that I see you in front of mine, because it is every artist want to interact with you and know about your journey, know about your uh, work and process. So I'm so honored today. I'm very honored today.
Thank
And
you, Karthik. I really appreciate you asking me. I hope I can do my, offer something interesting, some insights, some share my experiences in a meaningful way for the audience. So, thank you for having me today.
thank you, sir. My first questions, it's about your journey, about your artistic journey, and I must say that unconditional artistic journey, because as a dancer, as a choreographer, and now as a producer. So how is your journey, and what experience you gain, and please say something about.
Okay, thank you, Kaushik. Well, look, I have a long journey, and I think my journey in arts and dance starts before I even started dancing, if you know what I mean. I'm Pakistani by origin, and I was born in Pakistan, and I came to England in 1963, and I came to a world that really didn't accept me, to be honest, where everywhere I went, doors were closed. And me and my family experienced lots of difficulty. And so, in a way, what I struggled with in my early years is to have a voice to share my ideas, to share my view of the world, even though I'm only a child, And I remember as a teenager, my sister, actually, she came into dancing before me. She studied Kathak, Nigat Chowdhury, and I remember watching her performances. So my first experience of dance was watching my sister do performances with Nahid Siddiqui, and being very mesmerized by this beautiful art form, but also at the same time thinking, how, this is so glorious in its traditional kind of format, but I always wondered what it would look like if it was, like, in a way modernized, in a way, and then after that, the first time I actually saw a contemporary dance performance was at Sadler's Wells when I was 17, and I went in and I didn't know what to expect. And this beautiful black male dancer came onto stage, and I couldn't imagine that a human being could be so poetic, so sensitive, so athletic, and tell me a story with his body. So and so already my artistic kind of curiosity was beginning to be awakened by these experiences, because actually, tell you the truth, my father was an accountant, and that my parents had no arts in the household. So it was weird that both me and my sister ended up being dancers. And then so soon after this, I went to university to do an English degree. And I took my very first dance class, and I literally just walked out of the university class, and I spoke to the director or the dean of the university, and I said, look, I want to leave and I want to be a dancer. So, I realized what was happening to me in my life experience, that this doorway into this world, because was something I didn't want to do. It's something I needed to do, you know, and because I felt it created in me, because if I look at my early experiences, it created in me a little bit of a sense of a door being open, and a sense of belonging, and also a voice that I probably couldn't have in any other kind of form of human expression, whether it was through education or anything else. So that was very much my first experience. And then I went to a dance college for 4 years in London, and I started very late. I started at 21, and I graduated at 26. And then I had this career in dance from 26 to 39, where it was mainly in contemporary dance, because that's how I was trained. And I worked in so many formats. I worked in opera. I worked in film. It was even a backing dancer for a famous pop group on a world tour. And I worked with some very famous contemporary dance companies and musical theatre. So all the time in all these experiences, what was happening for me was that it was awakening this sense of curiosity. It was awakening a feeling in me that there was an interesting way to tell stories through the body. And so really, these were my very early experiences into dance. And for people who know me, that once I retired from dancing at 39, I came back to London and I saw Akram Khan on stage. And I thought what he was saying, what he was speaking of, was so tremendous. And it completely excited me. So that then changed my journey from being a dancer into a producer.
Okay. So, sir, you had worked with Rosas in Belgium.
Yes.
In one of the leading contemporary dance company from 94 to 99. So can you share your experience with this eminent and world most, best world well-known company, dance company?
Okay. Now, this is a really good story, actually, because I auditioned for Rosas 3 times. You know, it was a company I fell in love with when I was a student at London Contemporary Dance School, and I went to the ICA to see them for the first time, and I thought, wow, this woman's choreography, the way she structures dance on stage, her relationship between the music and dance was completely exciting me, because I found what she was doing on stage was not necessarily using the music as a kind of backdrop for her movement, but she was almost having a conversation with the music, and the music was almost like another dancer. So I fell in love with her work, and when I was 28, she needed a dancer which sounded like my profile, and I went to audition in Belgium, and you know what, I was the only person there, you know, and I worked with her and her assistant for like 2 days, and I was so terrified and so nervous, you know, and I just couldn't make anything happen for me. So it didn't work for me. And then I auditioned again when I was 31, while I was working in Germany. And I felt much more relaxed. I enjoyed the experience. I probably felt a little bit more confident with myself. And then we spent a 1 week. Oh no, that experience was a 2-day audition in Paris. And then she invited me and my partner to come and spend a week in Belgium at the end of that year. I think, now let me just try and get the timing right. I think this was 1993. And I spent 1 week, there was like, 500 dancers auditioning for her, and we came down to the last 11. And we were improvising, we were trying ideas out, and I love the way she works, because it's not about learning steps. You are like a creative collaborator in the studio. But unfortunately, on my 33rd birthday, which was September 11th, 1993, she called me in and she said, unfortunately, I think I want to start with a younger company. And so my heart was broken, I tell you the truth, and so was my partner. But then I moved to Belgium, and she saw me in a performance of another of her former dancers, and she asked me to come and have a coffee, and she invited me to join the company in 1995. So it's, it just shows a little bit of luck, a little bit of persistence, a little bit of hanging on to your dream, not giving up. But if I'm going to be honest, Kausha, when I joined the company, I felt like at that point my physical strength was diminishing. And so I felt like I wasn't probably physically in the best place. But, you know, working with her for 4 years was tremendous. And, you know, I was injured for some period where I then ended up being like helping her out in the studio. And it was so amazing to listen to this incredible mind, this intellect, this imagination, and share ideas with her. So I think it really framed a lot of my understanding and wisdom and knowledge of dance, which I think took me forward into my work as a producer.
Okay, it's a nice journey. Hope I get the chance to work with that companies. Sir, you are the director and artistic producer of three different companies.
Yeah.
How's your experience with the three different companies, and what is the future of these companies? What is the role of these companies? Because three different companies and three different roles. So yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a really good question. And if I said I planned that, that would be a lie. Because I often think, you know, my life journey has been a series of beautiful accidents where things almost came my way. But I think that's not, you know, I mean, subconsciously, I probably desired these things. So let me start with Akram Khan Company, because that's, you know, that's a very important company for me. That's the one I started work. I met Akram in 99. In London, and we just, you know, we had a really fantastic chemistry with each other, and we had a worldview and a vision of art and dance which we both had in common. So we started that company and we founded that company in 2000, and I'm still a very strong member of that company. I'm one of the leaders, co-founder, and also the executive producer. And in a way, my role with the company for the first decade was really about building and supporting Akram in terms of the creative vision and creating the resources that he would need to be able to develop his craft and his art and his voice. So it was much more creative initially, as well as a business role in terms of developing the framework for him to develop his art. And then in the last decade, it's become much more about the development of the strategies and the business development, you know, getting the best out of staffing, and making sure that we optimize the company structure so Akram continues to make extraordinary work. And I still do that work today. So then in 2014, I created a company called Sky Blue Productions, which is my own company, in which I'm a director. And I really didn't know why I did this company, because what happened is that, you know, I'm not a full-time employee of Akram Khan. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of work with other artists, you know, that I was interested in. So I could kind of flex my producer muscles in different ways. And that was really great, because then I got to work with people like Aditi, you know, Mangaldas in India. I worked with some people like Dixon MBI in London and Joy Christine Risso. And I found myself in a situation that this second role of director of Sky Blue Productions was really about nurturing artists who are not in, you know, emerging artists or established artists who needed another doorway in their career. So it was really about, yes, building, you know, helping them to assist them in developing their art and their craft, but also their network and their contacts. So that's what happened with Sky Blue Productions. And now I see it really as a platform for really developing new talent, you know, emerging talent. So, and that's great for me, because I feel I have a good instinct for this. I've done it a lot in my life. And actually, not only got a good instinct for it, it's something I really enjoy doing. It's so thrilling to watch people grow to become the best versions of themselves. So, and to be part of that journey and help someone, it's almost like raising a child in a way. And it's a very rewarding and fulfilling experience. And then recently, I then became, well, last year, the CEO of a new company called China House Arts. And this is set up by a Chinese philanthropist living in London called Kevin Jung. And Kevin is a lovely man. He's a fantastic businessman, but he's passionate about arts and culture. And he came to me after I've worked a lot in China over the previous years. And he came to me and said, you know, I really want to do something meaningful with Chinese artists and with Chinese stories, but in the form of international collaboration, which is exactly the thing I love. So we discussed it, and then I proposed a project for him, which is an amazing love story from Chinese history called The Butterfly Lovers. And then almost accidentally, I found myself in the role of being the director of this production, which we're still working on now. So then what I find myself through China House Arts is where I get to exercise my more creative instincts. You know, my thinking as a director, which is the first time I've done it in my career. And it's very different, I promise you, Kaushik, from the role of a producer. It's a completely different mindset, you know. And I find sometimes it's interesting now because these two voices in my head fight with each other. You know,
Yeah.
because the producer wants to get things done, is very pragmatic. I kind of know where I want to go. But a director, I'm kind of searching. I don't know where I want to go, really. I have a smell of something or a vision of something, but it's much more chaotic. So I have to do a lot more listening. And I have to find out why I want to do something, not I want to do something. So an idea, before I have an idea, I need an opinion about that idea, a vision of that idea. So it's really great for me. So what I'm doing, if I break it down, one company I'm beginning is a baby, Akram Khan, my baby company. I founded it and continue to make that flourish and be a world leader in dance. Through Sky Blue Productions, I'm nurturing, emerging talent. And through China House Arts, I begin to exercise my own creativity. So all my needs are being met.
Okay, it is amazing because Sky Blue Company and the Akram Khan Dance Company, as well as the your another companies, is always create a new platform for the young artist, and it is really commendable job, sir. Because in India, lots of people are very awesome. And energetic, and they are doing something, create a new language of performing arts, but somehow they didn't come to the front, and they didn't get the supports as well as, so they are going to back. So it is amazing, most probably in our country will be flourish on the art and culture. So next questions. Sir, yeah, you say about your research work. You know, when I see some productions of your production, that outweighing the devil, Kadamati. It's a Bengali language, and in otherness. So some of three. If I say about the three production. So you have done a lots of production. Each production is highly research work, and their treatment is totally different. If I see, each production is totally different, and your research and method is unbelievable. When sometimes you use the creator lights, you create a movements, you always play with the backdrop on sculpture and paintings, and how to develop your ideas and your research. If you say something about your research work and the process with the artist. So
okay, it's a very good question. And actually, you know, these are all Akram's projects, and my job is to support him in those. But you've asked a very good question, because the biggest danger, I think, in artistic practice is to find a way that you know how to do something, and you do this classic thing of shift and drop, or transplant something that you've done before into something new. And I think one of the things I really admire about Akram, as an artist, but also the way he works with his creative team, is that every idea has its own truth. And you have to find that truth before you begin to craft it. So, and it's important to to do two things. Find out why you want to do that, explore that story, which is all your personal truth of your intention. But also, once you've started that, is to, through the research, is to begin to discover, the truth of the project itself. And then once you've established that, then you have a real root in the creation of a work that allows that truth to be fully explored and fully expanded. And I'm a big believer, if there's not enough of that research, and I'm sure Akram is brilliant at this, if you don't do that well enough, you kind of find yourself repeating yourself from one project to another, because basically you're transferring your process from one project to another, and that's dangerous. I mean, not dangerous, but I think it can be limiting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so therefore, it's really important that each idea starts almost as if you don't know anything, and one of that's interesting thought I just had the last couple of days, and I've only realized this after 40 years, is that, collaboration, I used to think, is a lot about bringing people with different skill sets, with different views together and perspectives and, and ways together in a kind of, in a very, into a common space to begin to explore something. And so you already come with things, but I realized actually slowly that collaboration, for it to really work, each person should come in completely empty.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And therefore we're not really empty, because we have a soul, we have instincts, we have all those things which make us human. And if we come in empty, those things will, with an empty space, those things will speak out more strongly than a preset a formula of ways of doing things and thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, actually, sir, it is very common factor when you break the forte, or you are doing something different, which is not a parallel. Those our audience have their own mind setup, and they want to see what they want. So when you break the pattern, break the things, so they are suddenly thinking that it's not my type, so they can reject. So many times it happens with the uh, uh, um, what I'm saying. It's the art with the artist. Because of that, when they break the rule and make the another theory, they are rejected sometimes. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope you feel it in your life. So it is but still it is amazing. It is the truth of artistic values. When you are when you are you don't care what they says, what they think about your work. That is why I think that is why your all the and Akram Khan sir, he is amazing, and every time his work, and it is out of the word. I can't the passion and the movement, that is amazing. So yeah, as a artist, mentor, uh, uh, you are also a mentor. you
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
you are
yeah.
artist and also a mentor, and you developed many peoples, and they are in a film industries. So how was your experience? Because those are come to the film industry, they are focusing on their own acting, but you develop them, the dancers, they are commendable dancers after their life. So how was your experience with the work with actors?
Oh, actors. Oh my God. I haven't really worked much with actors, to tell you the truth. Um, oh, was Kaushik, are you talking about a particular experience? Because I haven't really worked. I mean, I know Akram has used actors sometimes in research, but myself, I've
Yeah,
never, to be honest, I've never really worked with actors. But, I mean, I want to go back to something you just said earlier about, how do you find those things? I think,
yeah,
particularly with young artists, I think when people want something, they have a very powerful urge, a very strong passion, and this is a very good thing. And but also that can make a lot of noise in their head, because there's a thing that you think you should do, and there's a way that you think you should be and stuff. But actually, these are all narratives that often coming from the outside world. And so part of my job as a producer is to help someone to make not noisy decisions but quiet decisions, and to filter out all the things that they don't need when they're beginning to pursue their craft or an idea. So it's really to kind of allow them to be chaotic enough to explore and to wander in their imagination, because that's really important, but also help them in some ways to filter out the noise in that process.
okay. uh,
I
yes.
think that's the purpose of it, really. Is and if I worked with an actor, I'd probably say the same. And it's really different, dancers and actors, actually, because it's like a really great friend who's a theatre director said to me, told me a story of an actor and a dancer in a studio. When a director asks an actor to do something, they will always ask why. And if a director asks a dancer, to do something, the dancer will always ask how. So there's a very different mindset, but you're still pursuing the same outcome. But also one more thing, I think it's really dangerous to be driven by the audience, by the market. We are in an industry that's becoming increasingly more transactional. And my fear for the future really is that the audience begins, as much, they're a very important part of the equation. Don't get me wrong. I value the audience immensely. And we want to create an experience where they are surprised, where they have a sense of belonging, and they have a new vision of the future, or they are questioned, their beliefs are questioned. It's important to have that experience, and that's the purpose of art. But it's very dangerous in a way to be driven by their expectations. So, and that's the fine line between a show that becomes a work of art and a show that becomes a work of entertainment. They're different.
It is amazing explanation. Sir, can you share something, your milestone projects and your experience about your milestones projects?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many actually, but if I think why are they a milestone? Because at the moment they happened for me, is I had this tremendous sense of pride, and I had this feeling that, wow, I felt sublime, and in a way that something that we'd done made a huge difference. And so the one that really stands out for me, particularly with Akram, is the Olympic Games in 2012. When Akram created this extraordinary 5-minute dance at the end of the opening ceremony, where Danny Boyle, came to him and gave him one simple word. He said, mortality. And he wanted to have a moment at this ceremony where people who were watching, the 80,000 and the 2 billion around the world, had a moment to reflect on themselves and realize that in the end, we do extraordinary things there. We're temporary. And nothing is permanent. And so it was a challenge, to do something to make a 5-minute piece of work is a lot more difficult than make an hour's worth of work. You can't waste 1 second of what's happening, So when it happened and I watched it, and I actually watched it at home because my partner was the rehearsal director in the show, my soul felt really expanded, and it was an extraordinary milestone. But there are lots of other milestones. I think, Akram's first work when he was not dancing, with the company anymore, a work called Barhok. I think watching Akram for the very first time perform in Newcastle, a work called Loose in Flight. I mean, it absolutely rocked my boat. My world changed, and I guess that's another feeling of a milestone, that somehow your view of the world changes when it happens. It's not a success. It's a moment when you've seen something completely different, oh my God, I'm trying to, pull out a few others, but I also love it. Like for instance, I working last year with a couple of younger artists, one from China, she was 24. She came from a village. She had no dance training. And I identified her for a project called Portraits in Otherness. And when she presented that in London, and the impact it had on her and other people, that also really changed my view of young artists and what they're capable of. And similarly, there was another artist called Dixon MBI, who's an urban dancer, who's British, but also, African roots. And he did a piece last November. Wow, it changed me. And so, God, there was also, I thought Akram Xenos. No, actually, Xenos was great, but Desh, when Akram did the work Desh in 2011, that was incredible. That was the time when I thought, how amazing is that you can create a piece of work that's so personal, deeply personal, informed by personal experiences, and how they become universal, and how in a moment, this man was capable of making his story become our story. And so these are all milestones. Milestones aren't the things I put on my CV. I tell you the truth. The milestones are something I felt internally.
Sir, in this time, we always trying to find out something new ideas, and it should need it is very important to find out something new ideas, and you march to the various performing arts and fields. So can you share can you we can talk about the ideas and need for diversity in the art?
I think this has never been. Look, it's really simple, right? For me,
Okay.
diversity leads to excellence. You know, if you know, and it comes back to the simple idea that when you have a process which has many different perspectives, which and views of the world, you know, from diverse people, from different cultures, different backgrounds, different, you know, set ideas of privilege, it's absolutely essential for the world today. We've known what's happened, you know, with the big movement with happening now. Well, it's not just happening now, it's been happening for, you know, for decades. You know, the idea that, you know, there are people, black people, Asian people, ethnically diverse people who are not having their voices heard, their stories are not told. And even though we have this thing, this quote that goes around that says art needs diversity, actually art already has diversity. But what's happening, many of those voices are invisible, and so they're not being listened to, they're not being heard, they're not being seen. And we need that if we really want to be a global sense, create a global sense of belonging. If we want our human soul, global human soul, to remain innocent and pure, we need the widest possible range of human expression. And I
Yeah.
think it's also important that, you know, when we have, you know, artists, black artists, Asian artists, they also become role models for others. And if you don't see your role models, if you don't have your heroes, you know, it won't inspire next generation of people to create, because they think, why am I doing this? For what? Who is inspiring me? You know, if I do that, I may not ever be seen, or I may never be heard. So this is really absolutely essential for a world that really wants to respect democratic values, who care about empathy, you know,
Definitely.
generosity, a sense of belonging, you know. And yeah, it actually matters a great deal to me right now. It's always mattered a great deal to me, but now I feel like my floodgates have opened.
Sir, what is your role to develop our, you know, in a world-wise, not into UK, not into India, but also the globally? What is your visions for the artist, and what is your next vision for new generation, new thoughts, new ideas? How do they explore their work, and what do you thought about it? What do you think about
Oh, you're asking me a tough question there, Kaushik, because if I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little bit of an improviser, and I kind of make things up as I go along based on certain values and principles. But I continue to kind of care about, you know, intercultural collaboration. Look, let me put it simply. I care about this simple idea that beautiful things will happen when different worlds meet. That's it. Right. And so I
it? Okay.
want to nurture, be involved in, produce, direct, encourage, mentor artists who come from different worlds. You know, I've always done that my whole life. I want to continue to do that. And I want to maybe become a little bit more. I'm not very a political person, I'll be honest, but I'm not clever enough to be political. I can't find the right arguments, you know. I can
Yes.
only be driven by my own passions and emotions and sense of intention. So, but maybe I'll make more noise about that and defend certain things, which I think are really important, and fight for them, and actually challenge the idea of white privilege, if I'm going to be honest, because I think that's been around too long, and we've got to deconstruct, break that down, but maybe not by trying to erase some of the history, but also to challenge the history with an alternative view of the world and its future. So this sounds like big stuff, right? Really, I'm only a one person, but you know, one person can't do it. I know as well. It's working with like-minded individuals, thing like what you're doing today, to be able to share our thoughts and ideas on a kind of global platform like, you know, social media and through the creation of work. It's important for us to be stronger and braver about our opinions and our perspectives and our values.
Yeah. Sir, what is the importance of the artist in by heart, uh, truthfulness,
Yeah,
purity?
absolutely.
What? Yeah.
Well,
But
you know what? It's been interesting, hasn't it? Because for the last 4 or 5 months, the world has been in sort of kind of like in our lockdown with this virus situation. And what has happened? What do we yearn for? We've almost become like a cultural wasteland. And that is, we've really suffered more for that than probably the ability to get food and to be connected with people. But we've come aware that our personal cultural connection, sense of belonging with others is really important. And it's thrown up a mirror to ourselves about, you know, this world that we were caught up in before this COVID situation that became greedy, self-obsessed, you know, wanting more, and maybe to question ourselves, you know. And that's what artists do, to remind us the innocence of the human soul, the truth of it, and how we have to defend that. And it's more about who we do it for and what we give out rather than what we give ourselves. So, you know, the artists, you know, in so many different ways, and there is no one way an artist works, and that's the beauty of it. You know, they throw up questions, they challenge our view of the world. You know, they let us know, show us who we are, but you know, they let us discover ourselves again. You know, because we don't know ourselves half the time. You know, so artists help us to create a sense of awareness. So I think, you know, that will always be there. And sometimes artists are strongest when moments, the global situations are most stressed, and most under question. And when it feels that nothing is ahead of us, they'll find a way to break through all these barriers and obstacles and offer us an alternative view of the world. So I think now we'll see, I hope, and maybe I'm being optimistic, a huge renaissance of art, a huge new movement, a new version of art that will be able to kind of help us through these very kind of challenging and very uncertain times.
sir, it's very true. And it's a universal truth. When our universal getting problems and this kinds of like COVID-19s, right? So every time art fraternity is recognized and essential. So it's a very big tagline for us, and it's a big slap for us because we are, you know, we are hold our culture, our art, and every artist is the pride of the nation. As much as it's my thought only.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that time it's when you listen that art fraternity is unessential, so it is a big slap for us, but we are fight always against it. So yeah, I know you also face that that
No, but
things, and
it's really true, Kaushik, because you know it's really sad that governments and the people who
yeah,
have the power, the people who have the funds, the people who can open the doors for artists and you know, don't do it. You know, they or they leave it to the last minute, or they don't. You know, they almost take the value of art for granted. You know, and I, you know, I said in previous discussions, you know, I you know, I've been to India several times. I love going there. I mean, it's an ocean of talent, you know, and you know, I've seen so many incredible dancers from so many different backgrounds. You know, I was part of the PECTA performing the Prakriti Excellence in Contemporary Dance Awards a couple of years ago, and you know, the array of talent, the different ways of seeing Indian world and the world, their personal, you know, place positioning in that world. It was just extraordinary, and I saw India differently. I saw Indian culture differently. I saw Indian stories differently. But actually, I also saw people's personal stories differently. So I'd wish that the Indian government would just get behind it a lot more and just nurture this extraordinary kind of ocean of talent that you have. You know, and every country's the same. You know, like China's another country that has an ocean of talent, and you know, and the government's slowly beginning to wake up to the importance of what we call soft power, you know, which is what art and culture is. It's soft power. You know, it's not hard power. It's not conflictual. It's about creating warmth and peace in our world, if I'm going to be really utopian.
So last 4 months, we are facing lots of problems, and our art fraternity, we are facing lots of problem. It's come to our bread and butter issue, but we still fight, and we are creating a new, new creative language, like what I'm saying, digital performance and all that. We are not stopped. We are working, but we
Absolutely.
are not recognized. We didn't get any recognition. So it is very sad for us. And, we are used to. So
Well, not
we have,
really, Kaushik. I
yeah,
mean,
yes.
yeah, I'm
It,
sad to
it,
hear
it is
that.
very
Yeah,
true. It's very
yeah,
true. Last
yeah.
4 months, we are facing lots of issues. So, we in the whole world, performing our arts fields are collapse. Total workshops and
That's
performances is
true. Yeah,
stopped.
yeah.
And we are the categories like no work, no pay. That categories we are belong. So
Yeah.
lots of issues, and many artists are going to commit to suicide in India, but
God.
still, uh, our government never take any actions about for the artist. It is very sad for us, but we never stop. We will create our own platform. We always do it. As an artist, you also know about that. We always create our own platforms. So it is very true. And yeah, now we are come to the next, because it's a very
But I look,
sensitive
I
and
have to say, I'm really sorry. Thanks, sorry to cut you, but I think it's really, it breaks my heart to hear this, because it's but in a way, there's a solidarity that's being created because of the problems that have come up, and particularly in platforms like what you've done, and there's many other, there are some other people in India doing the same. So it's important that these things our voices are heard in these very bleak times, but it does break my heart, because it's true here. There's a lot of artists, freelance, particularly artists, which is the
yeah,
bedrock of a load of arts culture. We look at all the big institutions, the big companies, but actually what makes artistic culture rich is the thousands of freelance artists, who work
yeah.
with very few resources. They are the bedrock of artistic culture around the world. They are what prop it up. So, I'm sad to hear, but I hope by this solidarity, that we will begin to kind of reinforce and strengthen the arguments for protecting this.
We are actually we me and my one of my friends, Mr. Anil Kumar Singh, AK Arts India and Shastrika Unit of Performing Arts, taken an initiative to support our artist, and so we are approach to the peoples to
Yeah,
support us, which is called is Save Artist. And I hope, okay, it's an initiative we have taken, and if I get, I trying to reach to the peoples and all that. So it is our initiative. I will try my, we are try our level best. But sir, next, AK Arts India also questioning you, sir. Your vision about live performance to digital performance, it is a very valid questions, and it is in my list also, that
yeah, yeah.
we are going to stuck, and we can't go to theater hall for the performance, and so yeah, we all are going to the digital life, right? So what you think about, what is your opinion about the digital performance, which is we are going through? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of an old dinosaur when it comes to the digital world. I'll be honest. This is my first time using Instagram, and I think I'm making it. I'm pressing buttons in the wrong places, and I'm seeing these beautiful little hearts and things. So I'm discovering this world. But the good thing is, at Akram Khan Company, we have some brilliant people who are managing the digital content. And what I've really liked about the way they've done it is that it hasn't been, a knee-jerk reaction, but it's been very, they've taken much care about the digital content as we would the live performance. You know, there's been a lot of thinking about what do we really want to say, because it is a different platform. So just a simple transmission of a work that's on stage on the digital doesn't feel enough. So and what I've enjoyed, I've seen some incredible films and, you know, digital content made which uses the platform in a very inventive and creative way, in the way which it was actually designed for, you know. So I'm beginning to enjoy it. There's been amazing stuff coming out, and it's a great way for us to be connected, you know, through art and culture. But if I'm gonna, my one caveat is that you know, I love the live theatre. I love the live performance. I think it's a very spiritual and very powerful human experience. And I think often we go to the theatre and we go for these things to create a sense of, not just to see the work that we want to experience, but also to have a sense of connection with the audience with us. You know, it's a ritual, and it's a way which we transfer human energy to each other that creates a sense of belonging, you know, focus on a single experience. And at the moment, as I think digital is working in that way, but because I'm probably not so used to it, and I'm a little bit of an old dinosaur, I can't feel that in the same way as I feel it in the live space. I mean, I've been impressed. I've kind of marveled at the extraordinary creativity and the way that people have told stories through the digital format. But one thing I have to say is that we can't ignore it, you know. And but I would say to artists, be careful, because, you know, once you're out in the digital format, your work's out there forever. And I hope it doesn't actually undermine the physical and live space when it comes back. And it probably it's like, you know, if you watch a dance film, or you watch, you know, dance on film or dance on stage or dance on the digital format, they have certain rules and certain ways of processes that I think we have to really engage with those, so we're sure that the digital content is as creative and as fascinating as possible.
So in the field of dance, not only dance, if I say the field of art, it is commendable. Your journey, your contribution, it is commendable. So what is your next step for your journey or your work?
I probably, no, this was a very important year for me. It's been, so this is my, in numbers, this year was a very important year for me. So it was going to be my 60th birthday in September. It was going to be the 20th birthday of Akram Khan Company in October. And also the original plan, it was also in September, was going to be the first birthday of my first production, which I directed. So it was an amazing year, all these three things coming together, but it hasn't happened that way. But I think what I'd like to do, I mean, in the next decade, is probably if I'm going to be truthful, is be more creative in my own voice, try to explore that more. But at the same time, I want to continue to nurture people I believe in. I feel it's important to give back and to use your own legacy in a very positive, meaningful way. Because I now have, as you get older, you have a legacy as well, not just a reputation. So I've got to use that in a very, I can't be careless with my legacy. I've got to do something decent with it, you know? And so, but I also want to exercise my own creativity and use that. And perhaps be more involved, as I said earlier, in kind of being an advocate for some of the bigger issues around art and culture, you know, the lack of diversity, you know, the environmental issues. Can we begin to make work which is less, you know, demanding in terms of the resources that we have available to us, and be a little bit more environmentally friendly? But I'm not going to pretend that I'm a powerful activist. I'm not. You know, I do it in my way. I have to be truthful to myself. You know, I'm not as powerfully driven by those things, but I certainly care about them. So no, I will continue to do that. Yeah.
You always support to the young artist, and you just it's commendable. Some people are not doing that, so it is awesome. And sir, in a artistic life, dedication and devotion, how much it is important, the artistic life and their practice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we all know that, you know, dedication is important, devotion is important, love, you know, but also simple things like consistency, you know, and discipline. You know, an artist is a very disciplined human being, you know, patience, you know, the ability to be, and also I would say courage. You know, you know, an artist is a very courageous individual. You know, for a lot of time they are in doubt, or they their own ideas, or they're not sure. And I know that from working with some artists, and they have to have the courage to see themselves through that kind of uncertainty of their own process, or you know, the realization of a vision which they're not sure how to get there. So it requires, you know, devotion, but you know, and dedication, but also, you know, I would come back discipline, consistency, patience, but most importantly, courage. And you know, and the courage of an artist to go on stage, to be judged, because you know, artists will always be judged. That's not easy. People are, as you said earlier, aren't always going to like what you do. And then, you know, and learning to deal with that, learning to manage that, but also stay rooted in the things you believe in. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of very important human values, and to retain integrity as well. That's another important thing. And you know, and yeah, integrity is essential. You know, I had a really interesting meeting the other day. You know, and in a way, something that came out of it, which really struck me, was this idea that currently the world is moving at the speed of money, right? Everything moves at the speed of money. But this person says something very beautiful. They said, we now need to move to the speed of trust.
Wow.
You know, and this is a different rhythm. This is a different, yeah, different timing. This is a different energy. So I love, you know, and I think good artists move at the speed of trust.
Definitely.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, because trust for your arts, trust for your life, trust for your journey, trust for everything. Because without trust, you can't move.
You can't move.
That is
Yeah.
very, it is very. Aditi Mangal Das, Didi Aditi Di also with us, and she's actually we had talk 21st July.
Yeah.
She's It's an amazing experience with her. And you also, I hope you know Aditi Di, and you know
She's a
you.
dear friend. We've worked on, I think, how many projects now? 2 projects so far, and we're working on a third. You know, and I love Aditi. I think she's got an extraordinary vision for her craft. She's very committed to the, you know, arts and culture within India. You know, it's close to her heart. She's very confident in her own culture, and I think that's an important part of an artist. She has this real strong conviction. I think she's amazing. Yeah.
She says, she said hi to you, I hope.
Aditi, wherever you are in the ether, hello back.
She's amazing.
Yeah, we're working on a new project right now, which sadly we had to kind of delay until next year, but it's a very exciting, very daring idea, and I love it.
You also work with Surjit. Surjit, he's from Manipur in India.
Yeah.
And he is also a very awesome and excellent dancer. Not only that, but his thought process is something different, which is totally. You know, some people's listening to you and learning so much. Aditi Di says that, yeah. So, sir, you know, in this situation, I just out of you got lots of prestigious award, and different countries, different universities, and so how is your reaction when you got the you know, award? So how it is important for the artist, because how to enhance his or her work, or and yeah, how much responsibilities you got through the
yeah. Well, you know what, the awards, they matter because then my family take me seriously. I think I'm like my kids, my two daughters think, oh, well, you're doing something right then, you know. But you know, awards are a strange thing. They're very temporary things. That you know, when you get them, it's a really nice feeling. I won't deny it. You know, you feel you validated your efforts and hard work. You know, and it kind of, but it's also dangerous. They're a little bit dangerous as well because you know they can, you know, they can seduce you into this kind of illusory sense of success. Because also success is also dangerous, you know, because it's not, if you get caught up in the glow of success or the darkness of failure, you kind of never move, you know, you can become stuck. So I'm very grateful and I'm very honored to have received them, you know, and they do help in some places, you know, like, you know, in some countries, if you haven't an honor from the Queen, you know, people will talk to you. Maybe they won't talk to you, perhaps, you know, but I really didn't seek them, Kaushik. I really didn't look for them, you know. You know, but they do. Yeah, I try not to take them too seriously. The most important thing is that I retain my honesty and integrity and my commitment and convictions, you know. And I just work hard. I continue to work hard for myself and for the people that I believe in. That's the most important thing for me. And if people are going to recognize that and give me awards, great. You know, I'm honored, but that's about it for me.
What is the key of the success? Because you know, in the new generation, and that new generation, they are going to like a rat race. They are
Yeah,
moving, and they are lose their ideas. They are copy and paste, and it is very harmful for the art. You know, when outsiders people saw this performance, they are wow, but where is the truthfulness? Where is the process? They can't say anything about the process. So
yeah.
what is you think about these kinds of artists, and those are moving running so fast they need
Yeah,
a
yeah.
pain, you know? So it is very you know,
I
uh,
know it is a worry because we're living in the world where people want things quickly, and
yeah,
we know, and we all of us who've worked in the arts know that it doesn't come easy. It takes time, you know, and it requires a huge amount of risk and sacrifice, you know, and again that needs to be done with consistency and with patience, you know, to begin to navigate yourself through this very difficult process. I fear for the speed because it, you know, because there's a kind of desire to get to the end product so quickly. And what really, if you like, you know, most artists will say that actually they feel quite disappointed with the end product, perhaps, or not necessarily disappointed, but what they've enjoyed most is the
yeah.
journey of creation, working with other people, getting the best out of their team and getting the best out of themselves, and learning something new that comes from the process. So I worry that if this new fast track, super speed, hyper speed world, are people really learning anything? Is it just an accumulation of information and data? And is that enough? Because the truth is, you know, artists, to be an artist, you have to, it's about converting information into understanding first. So you have to know something, and then you have to know what it means. But then once you know what it means, then you use your imagination to convert it into expression. So that, you know, I think Einstein said that the highest form of intelligence is imagination, and probably the lowest form of intelligence probably is knowledge. You know, information, not knowledge, information. So I think people are losing out potentially. You know, and also this idea that, you know, I've always believed that if you want to tell something meaningful and truthfully, it's best to keep it, be simple. But I don't mean simplistic, and simple. I don't mean simplicity as the reverse flip side of complexity. You know, this is complex, this is simple. I mean the kind of simplicity that you earn by exploring an idea, by distilling it, by filtering out the things that are not necessary. You know, to arrive at a place of purity and being simple is a hard process. It's a process of
Yeah.
reduction, not a process of accumulation. So I fear for this, for young people. I fear that they become disconnected from who they are, and lose a sense of self-awareness, and are not rooted in anything um, uh, um, that will protect them and allow them to grow and nourish themselves.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. We are already 1 hour, it's complete. So we will reconnect. Just 40 seconds are left. We just reconnect with you and we will continue the session
Okay.
for some time. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.